It had stopped raining, so I decided to go for a walk out Zemovia Highway down near Heritage Harbor where we used to have a community garden. And I used to have a couple of beds here before we bought property and I started to build my own market garden. The garden is no longer being used, and I think the plan still is to expand the cemetery into this area, but everything's looking pretty dilapidated at this point. This is one of the beds that I had. I thought I had gotten all the mint out of it, but it all grew back. I pulled out a number of plants. I'm going to see if I can get them going at the house. Somewhere where they won't spread everywhere. I've got the mint temporarily stashed in a little tub of soil.
I got a rock in there.
Oh, it's chilly. They keep forecasting a completely sunny day, but then it gets downgraded to like just overcast. So got a little bit of sun trying to come through, but I just thought I would get we're going to have a couple of days that it's not supposed to be raining, so the carrots out here that I planted kind of sparsely germinated, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull those out. I got better germination from the carrots that are on the right here facing the greenhouse, because I put the pelleted seeds in this really chunky, partially rotted seaweed, and so they didn't germinate that great. I can see why Farragut Farm says that they don't use seaweed straight on the garden. They compost it now because they said it's really weedy. I'm seeing these intertidal plants coming up. I've still just been breaking off the kale tops here, rather than just, you know, like taking off individual leaves. Because when we get a freeze, these things will be pretty much done for. I am no longer worried about getting pests here in the garden because I've got all sorts of pests already. So there's a fellow who has a bunch of leaves, and I've just been having him go ahead and dump them in here. And since these carrots don't have any pests or anything like that, I threw them the carrot tops in there as well. And over here I just had set out some buckets to kind of let the rain clean them out, and I've been using, you know, whatever water that gets collected there, I've just been throwing it back on top. There's my couple bags of carrots. From the earlier harvest of carrots, I've still got 3 bags of mochums, which I saved for last because they don't taste as good. And I've been using the yayas, but that's all I have left from that stash. So, got these 2 5-pound bags, the carrots I harvested today. I've converted this chest freezer into a refrigerator. I had one of these at the little organic produce and grocery store that I used to run as well. How this works is with a temperature controller. You can plug in a freezer and also a heater, and it controls both of those temperatures. So with the black plug, that's the freezer plugged in there, and the white plug is for the heater. And so when the freezer comes on, it cools things down, and once it's cold enough, then it stops freezing, and then it just kind of cycles back and forth like that. And I've just put in this heater unit, and so when it's too cold outside, the heater will come on and warm things up until it's warm enough, and then it turns off, and then that cycles back and forth. So the way that this unit works, whether it's the heater or the freezer that it turns on or off, is through this temperature sensor right here, and it sits inside the freezer and measures the temperature and sends that information back to the unit. A lot of condensation collects at the bottom of the fridge, so every few weeks I have to go in and push the water out through the drain. But this time I think I left it for like a month or something, so there was a lot of water at the bottom. And then I have to get in there and mop up the sides and the bottom and get it all dry. When I'm cleaning out the fridge, I unplug this plug that turns the freezer on and off so that it doesn't, freeze up while I'm trying to clean it out. So I got to remember to plug that in and put this temperature sensor back inside, because in the past I've forgotten to do that and then it freezes everything in here, which is really sad.
Ah, there's baby dear. Gee willikers. And mama dear.
This is where my berry patch is supposed to go. Of course, I'm convinced that this is where my compost bins should be, but we're gonna move ahead, and I just need to put some logs on top of this brush and then start putting soil on top of that. And then I also needed more soil on top of that section. That's where the deer always seem to kind of hang out and meditate. Okay, so I've got this pile of logs, and the little ones I think I can just drag. Oh, good. So I got all the little ones over there already, but I've got these bigger ones that are too heavy for me to drag. So I tried to start the truck because I was just gonna pull them with a rope over there, but then the truck won't start, which has been having that problem, and I thought I was gonna run the battery dead trying to get it started. So I started just rolling this thing this way, which is a total waste of time, but I just want to get it done. Okay, so here's the problem. How do I get this log that I just rolled here up onto that pile? Does anybody have any ideas? Okay, this is what I call the pile of rocks method of moving a log, and the why don't I break my arm on accident method. Oh, shit. Okay, we need a longer lever arm. Let's try this. How to waste an hour trying to move a log that Tyler could move in 2 seconds. Between the multiple rock piles, I got this thing up there. I need to scooch it along. Okay, so I've got one more log back there. It should be easier because it's not as big. Okay, so never say something's going to be easy, because it actually took me quite a while to get this last log over here. And then I decided, after spending all that time getting this big log propped up over here, I wanted it to kind of tuck down in this corner, so I just moved it back down. And I've got a couple of gaps in here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that. So I was messing around in town for a while, and I got back. It's pretty much nighttime at 5:30. Maybe I'll just call it a day.
Oh boy! What sorts of berries am I gonna get?